Hey Sean, let's take a look at your week 3 assignment 2 drawing. The the drawings themselves, this is a little bit more than what is necessary for this assignment. For assignment 2, this is almost more in line of what we'd be looking for in assignment 3, although you'd want to deal with maybe a little bit more texture on the ground plane, get the cast shadows in place a little bit more. But dealing with the ground plane, dealing with the wall, the object, and the kind of table itself, it's a lot of stuff to have to kind of deal with for this assignment. So it's actually kind of good. You're getting kind of a jump on it. Presentationally, I'd actually like to see what's going on down below here. It feels like it's being cut off prematurely, probably because of the scanner. And even just having 2 separate scans, one for each, and then putting that in Photoshop and cropping and whatnot would, I think, be the better solution. Because I like this scene, this 1-point perspective, and I like the contrast between the white and the gray and then the blue, and it just feels like we're missing out on a little bit towards the bottom. So some of the issues I have, some of it is not something that really needs to be concerned with too much in this assignment, but would be something you'd want to think about and develop more in the next assignment if you go with one of these. One would be cast shadows, and trying to make sure that they actually are kind of working within the ground plane as well as the back plane. If you have light that's kind of coming from this direction kind of directly, which it doesn't seem like it is, it kind of seems like it's coming from forward and from the left, you'd have at least a little bit of it occurring on the ground plane, and then as it kind of reaches up onto the wall, and this would be in both cases. So it feels a little bit inconsistent where you have a cast shadow, but then it just stops abruptly before it gets to anything on the on the floor. The texture, I think, could also be just toned down a little bit. It feels like there's a lot of this wood kind of grain in place, and I think even reducing it by half, it would still work effectively as a wood texture. The coloring is there, which is half the battle, and then I think not having quite as much of the line work in place, it'll make it a lot clearer. The 2-point feels good perspective wise. Marker usage wise, it also, I think, feels good. In both cases, I would say marker usage is pretty solid. Perspective on the 1-point, though, there's a lot of issues in place. One is the table that the microwave is on is expanding outward as it moves back into space, and from your 2-point perspective, I would guess that it doesn't actually kind of get larger as it moves back. It's not like a trapezoid kind of surface, and if it is, then the 2-point isn't showing that, and so the perspective doesn't feel like it's being applied on the table. The other thing is, if you actually draw out the perspective of the microwave, and I drew out the base, this would be the bottom of the microwave if it was kind of transparent. You can see kind of the back of the microwave reaches down here, but your table kind of ends here. So this actually means that the table kind of ends and the microwave still kind of moves on behind it, so it would be kind of balancing halfway off of it. So you have to make sure when you're kind of rendering an object that's interacting with another object that they both have perspective being applied, and that the perspective and overall structures are working together in unison, rather than what's here, which feels like the microwave has its own kind of structure, the table has its own structure, but they don't coincide with each other. I could also see a little bit more textural work being done on kind of the glass surface so that it feels a little bit more reflective, although you have a good start here. I'd reduce outlining on your object, which I think tends to flatten it out a little bit and makes it feel slightly cartoonish in a way, just as cartoons have outlines around everything to contain the color. But I think it simplifies the object and it makes it feel a little bit less complex, and it also flattens it out. So I would kind of eliminate that or reduce it if you can when you go to the next assignment. But it's still a great start, and it's still kind of a ton of stuff that you're dealing with that looks good.